It's been a long time, but there's finally an update on Triple Frontier 2. In a recent interview with the Mary Sue, Charlie Hunnam shared insights into the chances of a sequel. Here's a breakdown of everything known so far and what it could mean for the franchise. Before diving into the update, let's revisit Triple Frontier, released in 2019 and directed by J.C. Chandor. This action-adventure film followed a group of former U.S. Army Delta Force operatives, played by Ben Affleck, Oscar Isaac, Charlie Hunnam, Garrett Hedlund, and Pedro Pascal, who reunite for one last mission. However, this wasn't a government-sanctioned operation. They were after a massive cash stash hidden in the jungle by South American drug lord Gabriel Martin Loria. At first, everything went according to plan. Pope led the team into Loria's remote jungle home while his family was at church. They found the money, way more than expected, hidden in the walls and started loading up. But greed slowed them down. By the time they were ready to leave, Loria ambushed them, injuring Ironhead. After taking down Loria, they set the house on fire and made their escape. From there, things quickly spiraled. Their overloaded helicopter crashed in the Andes, forcing them to trek through hostile terrain with the cash. Redfly, who had been the most focused on the money, was ultimately killed during a confrontation with villagers. Realizing the mission had cost them too much, the team dumped most of the cash and barely made it to their getaway boat, carrying only what they could. In the end, they decided to give their shares to Redfly's family, leaving the door open for a potential sequel, especially after Pope received a set of coordinates for the remaining money. Now back to Triple Frontier 2. Rumors about a sequel have been swirling for years. And with the original's strong fan base, Netflix might finally be moving forward. In a recent interview, Charlie Hunnam gave fans a little something to hold on to. While he didn't confirm anything outright, he did tease that a sequel is at least being discussed. He also revealed that he is now involved as the main producer, a big deal as it suggests he's actively trying to make it happen. Here's what he had to say. It is in its absolute infancy, nothing guaranteed, but I just set up recently as the main producer on a potential sequel to Triple Frontier at Netflix. This doesn't mean the movie is a done deal, but it does show there's movement behind the scenes. So how likely is Triple Frontier 2 to actually happen? The first film had a mixed run. Even though it was primarily a Netflix project, it received a limited theatrical release in March 2019. However, financially, it didn't perform as Netflix had hoped. Reports suggest the streaming giant spent around $115 million on the film, a massive budget for a streaming project. But the return wasn't overwhelming. That alone might make a sequel seem like a long shot. That being said, the movie wasn't a total flop. It landed a 70% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, meaning most critics thought it was at least decent. More importantly, the film has seen a resurgence in popularity. Between November 20th and November 26th, Triple Frontier made it onto Netflix's global top 10, pulling in 3.6 million views that week. That's significant because it proves audiences are still watching and enjoying it even years later. If Netflix sees enough sustained interest, that could be the push needed to greenlight a sequel. Of course, there's another challenge: the cast. One of the biggest draws of Triple Frontier was its stacked lineup. Since then, Pedro Pascal in particular has become an even bigger name thanks to The Mandalorian and The Last of Us. Now, he's stepping into the Marvel Universe as Mr. Fantastic in the upcoming Fantastic Four movie. That's huge for his career, but could make scheduling Triple Frontier 2 even trickier. Balancing major franchises like Star Wars and Marvel means Netflix would need to lock him down at the right time, which won't be easy. If they manage to do it, though, his involvement would definitely boost excitement for the sequel. While Hunnam's involvement as a producer is a step in the right direction, there's still no guarantee. The good news? The original movie has a dedicated fan base. If interest keeps growing, Netflix might finally take the leap. If Triple Frontier 2 does happen, the big question is, where does the story go next? The first film ended with the surviving team members barely making it out alive after their ambitious heist went sideways. They lost Red Fly, dumped most of the stolen cash into a ravine, and only walked away with about $1.01 million each, a far cry from the $250 million they originally took. Before parting ways, Ironhead gave Pope the exact coordinates of where they left the money, hinting that the story wasn't completely over. One possible direction for the sequel could involve the team going back for the lost cash. They already know where it is, and while it's a dangerous mission, they've pulled off worse. The big challenge, retrieving the money without drawing attention, especially since Loria's cartel would likely still be looking for them. It wouldn't be surprising if the cartel had already sent men to recover the money, turning the sequel into a high-stakes race. Another angle could focus on Pope tracking down Giovanna, the informant he helped escape to Australia. Given how much effort he put into ensuring her safety, a sequel could explore whether she's truly free from danger or if Luria's allies are still after her. If Pope gets pulled back into her world, it could force the team to reunite, even if they're hesitant after what happened last time. Then there's the issue of Red Fly's death. The team already feels guilty about how things played out, and his family was left with nothing but their share of the heist money. A sequel could introduce Red Fly's family in a bigger way, perhaps with them unknowingly getting caught up in the fallout from the first film's events. That could push the surviving team members to act, not just for money, but to protect the people Red Fly left behind. A sequel would also need to address how each character has changed. Benny was an MMA fighter before the heist. Did he go back to that life, or did the experience change him? Catfish was a pilot. Did he stay under the radar, or is he back in the game? And Ironhead, who is already struggling with his past as a soldier, might be the least willing to jump into another dangerous mission. No matter which direction the sequel takes, the core of the story would likely remain the same. Highly skilled but deeply flawed men navigating a world where loyalty, greed, and survival constantly collide. If Netflix moves forward with Triple Frontier 2, it'll be interesting to see how these themes are built upon while giving the team another mission worth watching. That's all for today's video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated. Have thoughts on a potential Triple Frontier 2? Drop them in the comments.